Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name's Teresa and I'm the car boot crafter, and I'm in the craft room making this cute little notebook project. So it looks like a cute little handbag. You can decorate it up as much as you want, but then inside you've got all these pages to write on, and it's a really quick and simple project and uses up your scraps as well. All you need is a piece of copy paper, some scraps, scissors and a pencil, and if you've got it, a narrow gauge corner rounder. This one cuts that sort of rounded edge, so it's not very wide, it's quite small and narrow, and that's how I get that look on my handles. So I'll pop that to one side. If you haven't got one, don't worry about it. Just use a pair of scissors and cut round that corner. So starting with your copy paper, I'm going to turn it sideways like that. So I've got my long edge there, and I'm going to fold it in half on the long edge. So do take a bit of time lining it up, because it's worth it, because you get a much better look in your pages inside. If you don't line it up very well, your pages can be a bit up and down. So use your bone folder to reinforce that fold, and then fold in half again, so we've got 4 lengths. You can, if you want, sit down and work out the measurements and do it in a scoreboard and trimmer, but quite honestly I find this is the easiest method to do these little books. So once you get to that stage, you're going to open it all out again, and this time, so we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. Now what we're going to do is fold it in half this way, so on the short edge. So again, bring that up, take your time to line it up, get those corners all lined up as best you can. Of course, I line them up and then I put them down, they just twist, don't they? So line them up, that's better. And use your bone folder, crease that down, fold it up and fold it in half again, being very careful again with all your edges, and bone folder to reinforce that edge. And one last time, bring it up to that edge and very carefully fold it down, and use your bone folder again just to reinforce that that fold. So you're going to open it up again, and you remember those first 4 columns that we did. So this one, this one, this one, and this one. You're going to cut along that crease. If I do that like that, you can see where the crease is. So you're going to cut along that crease. So we've got 4 pieces. This is the way I do it. Do whatever works for you. I'm just going to bring in my guillotine, open it up, and I'm going to fold it in half along that crease again, reinforce that crease as you did earlier, and then all I do is lay that crease along the metal edge there. I'm going to bring that in, lay it down so that crease is right on there. In fact, I usually fold it over, so I might as well do what I normally do, so that that fold is now in there. And I'm holding it down and bringing my guillotine down, and that gives me a nice sharp crease. And I'm going to do exactly the same on this crease. So again, fold it over nice and tight. I'm going to get my bone folder, reinforce that fold down there, pop it back in my guillotine, like that. Make sure that is hanging over. What I'll do is I'll do this one and then I'll show you on the last one exactly what I mean. There we go. So now I've got 2 pieces. So last piece. So there's my crease. I do it in half just because it's easier and quicker. And this is a smaller guillotine. So I'm folding it in half to reinforce that fold that we made earlier. So that sounds like next door's alarm is going off. Don't know whether you can hear it, but I certainly can. Open it up. Now this edge I'm going to have hanging along that edge there in my guillotine, that edge. So I'm going to pop it in, hang it over, bring it this way, you might be able to see a bit better. So there's the edge of my guillotine there, and my paper is hanging over so that that crease is right on there like that. Let me open that up again, position it again, and I can bring my guillotine down. So now I've got 4 pieces. I can now put my guillotine to one side. So I've now got 4 pieces that look like this. 2, 3 and 4. And all I want to do now is zigzag fold. So it doesn't matter which end, and just zigzag fold along those creases. Some of them you'll be going against the way it wants to go, but that's fine. We've got the creases there already, so we're just folding it so that it's a zigzag. Looks like that. And I'm going to get the bone folder out and reinforce those creases like that, and do that with all 4 of them. And it doesn't matter, there's no right or wrong way of folding, as long as at the end of it you have a piece of paper that is concertinaed backwards and forwards like that. So 3rd one, and these come together so quickly. And to be honest, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out all my covers, have them standing to one side, and then do several of these in one go, because I'm going to glue them in a minute. I'll show you, and it takes a minute or 2 for the glue to grab. So if I do a few of these this stage in one go, then my glue will have already grabbed. And all you're going to do now is stack them all together. Now it's not overly important, but it's just me and my OCD. I just want to make sure that these are the same way. So you see how that last piece is facing away from me? I want the first piece of my next one facing away from me, so that they join like that. And then that one zigzags, and again the last one's facing away from me. So I don't want it that way, I want it that way. But if you want to put it that way, it doesn't matter, it really doesn't. For me, it's just the way I do it. So this one, again, that's away from me. Pick this one up. I don't want it that way, so I'm turning it that way and zigzagging all those papers together. So now I've got a little stack of papers all facing the right way, or the same way, should I say. So you're going to stack them and just make sure that the backs, it's the backs more than the front that you want to be really level. So just tap them down on your desk, and the same on one of the edges, tap it down. And then if you've got some bulldog clips to hand, and I've got a nice big one there, just gonna put that in so it holds it together. So I'm going to loosen it ever such a little bit, just so as I can make sure that that end's straight, and the same there. So now all I'm going to do is, that's not quite straight, there we go, is going to get my glue, my PVA glue, and I'm just going to run some glue along that edge. I'm holding it together because I don't want it to seep down into there, but I do want it to grab on the top. So I've got my fingers and I'm just pinching it together there, and I'm just putting some glue. I'm using my fine tip. You don't have to, you can use whatever you've got, but I find using my fine tip gives me a little bit more control over how much glue is going onto the spine of my little notebooks. So I want to be quite generous, but not too much. Go right the way to the edges, but don't go over. And then once you've got a fair amount of glue on there, pop your glue down and use your finger and just rub that in all along the spine like that. Don't go down the sides because then it won't open properly. Just make sure that that glue gets in all those little nooks and crannies on there. Okay, now I'm going to do is I've got a couple of pegs, so I'm popping one that side just to squeeze this end together because my bulldog clip doesn't reach all the way up, and I'm going to do the same on this side. So it just squeezes those pages together so that they will start to glue and bind. While that's drying, I'll pop that to one side. I'm going to start working on my scraps. So this is going to be my cover, the same as this one. I might use that side this time just to ring the changes, and I'm going to cut this down to 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. Let me pop that back in there. I will need my glue again in a minute, so I don't want it to clog up. So again, 3 1/4 by 2 1/4. So cut that down. I can pop that scrap to one side. That I'm going to use that later on. So I'm bringing in my bone folder, and all you're going to do is score at 1. Let me just try and remember. 3 1/4. So 1 1/2. So score at 1 1/2 and at 1 3/4. So 1 1/2 and 1 3/4. There we go. I can pop that down to one side for a minute and then fold and burnish on them edges. Make sure you line up these two edges so that we know we're nice and straight, and burnish that down, and then burnish the other one. So again, just very carefully fold it over, make sure that's all lined up nice and straight, and then burnish that down like that. There we go. And then you've got your little book cover. Grab your contrasting paper, and I think that'll go quite nicely with that. Bring in your guillotine again, your trim or whatever, and this time you're going to cut excuse me, you're going to cut at 1 1/2 and 2 by 2 1/2. So I'm going, oh, I've already cut that edge, so that's why I'm flipping it over. So 1 1/2 by 2 1/2, like that, and you need 2 of those. So 1 1/2 by 2 1/2. Okay, and then I can get rid of my scraps and pop that to one side for my next book. Put that away, I don't need that now. That's what I mean, you could do all of these elements. I could cut a load of these out, a load of these little handles out, and put them to one side, and make them up as I earn afterwards. Be like a factory conveyor belt. So just fold that in half along your 2.5 edge, like that on both. Line those up, fold those down. There we go. So we've got two little like that, and these are going to be our handles. I always fold it the other way because I want to work on the inside. So I'm just going to grab my ruler and my pencil, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure down. So this is my open end here. I'm going to measure down 1/4 inch at one end and 1/4, that's the centimetre side, 1/4 inch let me think, from there, not from the edge. I'm going by the crease mark, so let me put in the crease mark. Nearly got it wrong. So there's my crease mark. So one side or the other, it doesn't matter. Put in a 1/4 inch mark, and across the other side another 1/4 inch mark, and just join those up like that. There we go. And then 1/4 inch from this edge on that line mark, 1/4 inch from here, make a mark, and do the same at the bottom like that, and over at this side like that. I'm going to draw a line. I don't normally, I just follow by eye, but I'll draw a line so you can see where I'm heading. Ever so slightly out. There we go. So what I want to do is cut this bit out, but what I want to do is fold it over, so I'm cutting both of them at the same time. But before that, I'm going to bring in my corner rounder and this corner, so that in the where the crease is, you're going to corner round there like that, so you get that. And I'm going to do the same on the other side like that, so you get those. And then I usually get a peg, and the reason I do this is because I'm going to be cutting up and across. I'm going to lose all of this bit, and I don't want the papers to twist and turn as I'm doing it, so I'm popping that peg in like that so it holds it. So there's my scissors. Make sure I'm all lined up. Measure once, cut, measure twice, cut once. I'm just going to follow that line on both sides like that, and then I'm going to push that away, get in here, and then cut up that line across like that. And then I'm going to fold that back, and that's my handle. All my workings, all my lines and everything are on the inside, and we're going to glue that in a minute. Now it's up to you. You can use this as a template, so you could just simply pop it on there and draw that in, or you can do all those measurements again. I want this to be the outside, so I'm going to fold it back on itself so I don't get pencil marks. I'm going to use this as a template, so I'm just going to hold that down like that. And what you can do is get yourself a template. Create a template if you're going to be making loads that's just a half of one, and then you can just lay it down and do it, you know, however. Right, let's get that peg back again, line that up, pop that in, and again get my scissors out. And before I do that, what I do want to do is to punch those corners. It's really it's not vital, you can do it after you've cut those bits out, but I do find your papers do twist a bit if they're only the thin bits left. So I try and make sure that I cut my corners, round my corners off before I do this bit. So when I've got to there, get my scissors in, and you could do this with a blade very easily if you are more comfortable with an exact blade or scalpel. There we go, that should come out like that. So now we have our two handles ready to go onto our little notebook. But before we do that, I'm going to grab the insert of my notebook. That should be fairly dry. And I'm going to glue it into here. So just where I've put, so you can see where the two score lines are, I'm just going to put glue between those two score lines. I'm not going to go onto the other sides because I don't want my book to glue to the leaves on the notebook. So again, don't go all the way up to the top, and be fairly generous. You know, we don't want tons, we don't want it oozing all over the place, but we do need it to grab on our notebook. It's still, as you can see, it's a little notebook already, but it's still very just a tiny bit damp on there. So what I'm going to do is line it up. There's my crease mark. I'm going to line it up on my crease mark, make sure top and bottom I'm happy, and then I'm going to bring that over, wrap it round and push down so that I've got full contact along that spine there. And again, I'm going to bring in my bulldog clip just to hold it in place like that, so that my book, the insert, the pages doesn't move away from the spine of my little notebook. And then all I need to do now is to attach my handles. So what I'm going to do is run glue up both sides of my handle, and you can be as generous as you feel you need to. So both sides of my handle like that. Really I should wait until my pages have glued in, but just for time I'm going to take that off and show you how to do it. So I've got glue on both sides of my handle, so I'm going to fold it over the cover. So using by eye, line it up and pop it in place. I'm going to turn it that way so that I can see. There we go. Oh, slightly over that way. There we go. And once we got to that part, get my bone folder out again, push that down, and the same inside the notebook. So that's all down. Then do the same with this one. So all my workings and my pencil marks are there. So I want to make sure all my glue is the same side, so it's not on the outside of my notebook. Glue on both sides. If you're a little bit nervous about doing it in one go, then just do it on one side, line it up, and then come back and glue the other one. Now this time what you've got to do is bear in mind this one, because we want to line it up with that. So again, by eye, line it up. I'm going to fold it over, and then I'm just going to hold it and make sure that this handle is lined up with the one at the back. So I'm just using those visual references between the front and the back. Once I'm happy, squeeze that together and get the bone folder out and fold. Make sure that's all folded in on there like that. And as you can see, it's not taken just yet, so I'm going to fold that back over and put my bulldog clip back on just to hold that paper inside the notebook so that we get a good contact to that back, that spine at the back of my notebook. So I say I would normally wait until that's dry before putting my handles on. So just pinch that down. Then I have some little flowers, a little box. Get a pinch of flowers. Oh, perfect, there's 2 there. And I use my tweezers, but whatever you are comfortable with. So glue at the ready, tweezers at the ready. Lift up one of them, a little bit of glue on there, and I like to put mine there on the handle, and the same with this one. Let's hold that tight, bit of glue on there, and I'm just going to by eye line it up like that. There we go, that's there. And if I take that off for a moment, you can see that's another little notebook completed. And if I wanted, I could come back in with my thin pen and do some stitch marks around there, whatever, but I'm going to leave mine like that because I think it's just so cute as it is. There's a little bit of overhang from my punch, so I'm just going to take that out. There we go, gone. And there we go, there are now two little notebooks, and I've got plenty more scraps, so I'll be making a few more to send in happy mail. So again, one piece of copy paper, you know, the normal stuff that you pop in your computer, fold it into 4, fold it into 8, and then one piece of patterned paper that's 2 1/4 by 3 1/4, and then 2 pieces of contrasting card which is 1 1/2 by 2 1/2. Cut it to make the handles and glue it all together. Very quick and very easy, and I've done that without any prep or anything, you know, ready to use, and it's only taken me a few minutes. So a great one if you are making lots of things to gift out. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video. I'm going to make some more of these. Take care. Bye for now.